Welcome to this info session on Military Family Services Europe Emergency Childcare Plan. The purpose of the Emergency Childcare Plan guideline is to provide families with support by facilitating their short-term emergency childcare requirements. During this session, the term emergency childcare will include emergency deployment, respite, and posting-in childcare support. MFSE will ensure that members and their families receive the support needed to care for their children when their family care plan, DAOD 5044-1A, fails during an emergency or when an otherwise challenging situation arises due to conditions of military lifestyle. Over the course of this session, the following topics will be covered: the differences between the Canadian Armed Force Family Care Plan and the MFSE Emergency Childcare Plan, your responsibilities, differences between emergency childcare and respite childcare, and the eligibility. I will start by explaining the differences between the CAF Family Care Plan and the MFSE Emergency Childcare Plan. The Family Care Plan is completed by the member and is kept on file in the orderly room. This plan outlines the plan for family care needs in the event of duty-related absence. This document must be filled prior to requesting reimbursement for childcare. This plan is reviewed every year by the member during their annual Personal Readiness Verification, or APRV. Note that the Family Care Plan is only a requirement for CAF members and their families. Sponsored civilians are simply asked to fill out the MFSE Emergency Childcare Plan. The MFSE Emergency Childcare Plan is completed by either parent or guardian if they choose to do so, and is kept on file at the Military Family Services Europe Center. This plan is more detailed than the CAF one and has to be revised when changes happen with the child, at the discretion of the parents or guardian. It is recommended to fill one plan per child, as this plan goes into greater detail, such as bedtime routines, what a typical day look like, behaviors, milestones, etc. This plan also lists who to contact in case of an emergency. In Canada, that would be most likely family and close relatives, but in OutCan, this is not possible. So it is usually other Canadians in your community or your neighbors. All of the info is needed in order to assist MFSE staff in supporting your family through a variety of childcare needs, and although it is not mandatory, it is recommended in order for MFS to better support you and your family during an emergency. Furthermore, MFSE does not have access to the CAF Family Care Plan unless the family chooses to share a copy for their file. Let's explore what your responsibilities are. First of all, the member needs to inform his or her spouse about the particulars of the family care plan he or she completed. Then, as parent, you need to ensure you have completed the MFSE Emergency Childcare Plan and provide it to your local MFSE support team. And when in need of emergency childcare funding, you must first apply and receive approval from the MFSE Community Service Manager prior for childcare provision. It is a good idea to have an open communication with the manager in regards to the situation you are experiencing and any changes happening so that they are better informed and are able to provide better support for your family. Finally, the family must sign a disclaimer waiver releasing MFSE from any liability or responsibility for caregiver screening and selection. The screening and selection of a caregiver is solely the responsibility of the family. Now that you know a bit more about your responsibilities and the differences between our plan and the CAF one, let's look at what is considered emergency childcare, or ECC, and what is considered respite childcare, or RC. The eligibility piece for each of them will also be covered after that. So on one end, emergency childcare reimbursement may be available for families to facilitate short-term emergency childcare solutions in the event that their CAF family care plan fails. You may be eligible for emergency childcare support if 1, there is death of the cast member or family member for supporting during repatriation, funeral, and bereavement. 2, there is a short notice duty or military tasking, and the caregivers in the cast family care plan and MFSE emergency child care plan are not available. 3, the cast member is absent and the spouse has a death in the family. And 4, your child is ill and unable to attend usual childcare, and parents' presence at work is critical. On the other end, Respite childcare support may be available when it is deemed beneficial for the health and wellness of the primary childcare provider, or when a family is new to a community and has not yet been able to establish their family care plan. You may be eligible for Respite childcare support if 1, there is a serious illness or injury of the cast member or family member to help provide childcare during appointments or respite to aid in recovery. 2, you need to secure essential necessities when newly posted or to attend welcome briefs where both parents are required to attend up to a maximum of 3 months after posting. 3, when the spouse is the primary care provider and the MFSE manager determines that some respites would be beneficial for his or her health and well-being. And 4, if your family is facing a potential deployment or work-related absence, Respite childcare support may also be available following one of those requirements. The deployment must be over 21 days, or separation must be over 21 days due to training. Frequent interval separation may also qualify, or mission requiring the members to remain at work may also qualify. As for the reimbursement process, the current rate reimbursed by MFSE is €12 per hour or £12 per hour. It is important to note that this is not per child, but per family. Anything above that will not be reimbursed. Also, a family may be eligible for reimbursement for up to 96 hours of childcare expenses on a case-by-case basis. And please note, this does not mean that every family receives automatically 96 hours per occurrence. There must be a demonstrated need and a failure of the family care plan. And also, as a reminder, MFSE is not responsible for the provision of childcare. The reimbursement procedure will be managed between the family and the community services manager of their local MFSE center. The manager will send the family all necessary forms and process the paperwork to the MFSE finance department on the family's behalf once all the forms have been completed by the family. Now let's take a look at how to self-select a childcare provider for your children. This might seem like a daunting task, especially when we don't know anyone in our community. However, we have created a checklist to help you make the best decision for your family. With this document, you'll have a sample of criteria to think about when looking to find the best suitable options for your kids. This checklist includes a list of things to do, a list of things to discuss when interviewing potential providers, and a final checklist for home safety inspection if the childcare is not provided in your own house. All of these criteria are a guideline to help you make wise choices, but in the end, it is the parent's responsibility to investigate the character and caliber of the caregiver. This checklist is available on our website. One of the questions that we hear most is, who can be hired as a childcare provider? And the answer is, pretty much anyone could be a childcare provider for your kids, as long as you're comfortable with that person. The childcare provider cannot be a member of your family, nor a relative. For example, it could not be your child's grandmother, uncle, big sister, nor his other parent. It has to be someone external in order to be eligible for reimbursement, for respite, and emergency childcare from MFSE. And MFSE will only cover childcare provisions specifically for respite and emergency, not because the parents decided to go on a date one Friday night. there is a conversation that needs to be happening between the parents and their MFSE local team, either with a community service provider and with the manager. Gain approval for reimbursement. Additionally, make sure your MFSE childcare plan is up to date and review it whenever a big change occurs in your child's life. It could be that your child reached a big milestone, something changed in his or her diet, a new medical condition, or simply that his or her tastes have changed and you want to reflect it in your plan. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, it is suggested that you fill one plan per child to ensure maximum info on each of them. And when you review and edit some of the content of your plan, don't forget to send your new plan to your MFSE local team, so they have the most up-to-date info in regards to the well-being of your children. We also highly recommend that you share your plan with some, if not all, of your emergency contacts in your plan. That way, it opens a dialogue about your child's routine, habits, etc. And this is not something you want to think about when you are dealing with an emergency situation, as your stress level will be high enough without having to worry about your plan. And knowing your child is in good care will be the only thing that matters to you as a parent. We all know that moving to a new location and community is challenging for parents, especially while in outcome. Being prepared for any emergency will give you a sense of control over the situation that may arise. And having a childcare plan in place will probably help alleviate some of the stress. And don't hesitate to reach out to your local MFSE Center support team, as they know of various local childcare options and resources for your area. They may also have a compiled list of youth babysitters from your Canadian community if ever you are looking for that option. We also wanted you to know about the PSP program support to families during deployment, temporary duty, or course. In support of morale and welfare, the European Fund provides families of European Fund members or on deployment, on temporary duty, or course for 30 or more consecutive days with funding in order to procure wellness items and services. European Fund families are entitled to an amount of up to €100 monthly. More info on that subject can be found on the CAP Connection website. In hope that this session gave you more clarity about the MFSE Emergency Childcare Plan and your role and responsibilities in it, and that you feel more equipped to access available resources. Thank you for listening, and feel free to reach out to us at any moment should you have questions or